Well, good morning. Welcome to our second Saturday, the completion of our second week with our readings in First Timothy. Today we were reading from First Timothy chapter 4, verses 11 through 16. So we've made it through the first four chapters of First Timothy. This text today reminded me of the moment that I became a full-time pastor in the United Methodist Church. I was in my first year out of seminary. I was serving the same appointment I had served as a student pastor. We had been there for 3 years and then made the decision as a charge to leap into being a full-time appointment. As I had wrapped up my final semester, I looked forward with eager anticipation, not having all of those papers to write, all of those tests to take. And I was just looking forward to having more time to spend in the ministry of the churches I was serving. The process of study that I was anticipating was going to be no longer seminary study, but studying for Bible studies and sermon preparation. Several months into this new normal, life was turning out to be different from the way I expected it. It seemed that one of the most valuable lessons that I needed to learn was not taught in seminary. Activity has a way of filling the time that's made available. And I had proven within my first few months out of school that was the case. As my calendar filled up with various responsibilities, I found myself frustrated by the limitations that I was beginning to face as a full-time pastor. Well, during this period of time, I was asked to serve on a mission saturation design team, and of course, I said yes. The first meeting was in a city some distance from where we lived, and so I made arrangements to carpool with a couple of other pastors who lived near me. They were much older and experienced than I, and it was always a joy to be around them. There was a joy about them that I wanted for myself, and and hope one day that I would get to that place. As I matured, maybe I would have the same kind of outlook that they had. As we rode along, I mostly just listened. They told one humorous story after another. Gradually, the conversation shifted to matters that were a little more spiritual, to the point that I felt comfortable speaking up. I said, "You fellas have been doing this a long time. Maybe you can offer me some advice." I find myself getting a bit frustrated by the fact that I'm so busy and I don't have the time to spend in prayer and Bible study like I want to. Certainly not as I expected to when I graduated seminary. How did y'all learn to cope with that? Well, for the first time since we had begun our trip, conversation ceased. A few seconds, the only sound that you could hear was the sound of the Toyota engine of the car we rode in. Wishing I had remained silent, I was relieved when one of the brothers finally spoke up. He said, "Well, you know, Francis, I came to the point that I realized if I didn't have time to spend with God, I didn't have time to do anything else. That is why before I do anything else in the day, I begin with my quiet time, and I don't allow anything else to stand in the way of it." Well, that was a valuable lesson for me. If it's true that idleness is the devil's workshop, then I guess busyness is the devil's defense. I think this is what Paul's getting at with Timothy. He tells him not to neglect the gift that is within him and to pay close attention to himself and his teaching. In other words, practice what you preach. That was good advice for Timothy. It was good advice for me then, and it's good advice for me now. And perhaps it's good advice for us all. How are you doing at putting God first? Consider the following questions. In this new normal, what has God revealed to you about the time you spend with Him? In this new normal, what has God revealed to you about the time you spend with Him? Question 2. How are you doing at paying close attention to yourself and your relationship with God? How are you doing at paying close attention to yourself and your relationship with God? Question 3. My friend said to me, if I don't have time for God, I don't have time for anything else. How does that resonate with you? And what lesson do you think it holds for you? My friend said to me, if I don't have time for God, I don't have time for anything else. How does that resonate with you? And what lesson do you think it holds for you? Well, I hope you have a good day in this new normal, being the church in changing times. And I pray that the peace of God will go with you now and always. Amen.